Good evening and welcome to it. It is Monday Night Football on the 22nd of November. The name is Kamumbata and you're tuned into Front Runner, bringing you reflections of what's been happening as far as local football is concerned. Of course, at the weekend, we had some DSTV Premiership action. But before we delve into any of that, a big congratulations to the Mamelodi Sundowns ladies team, just breaking records and rewriting the history books each and every opportunity they get this weekend, winning the inaugural Champions League, Ladies Champions League, as the men's team have done in the past. They have now put the set together and unified the trophies, as it were. So congratulations to them. Went throughout the competition without conceding a goal. How impressive is that? And just from picking up where they left off, winning the domestic league, and then going on to be crowned champions and queens of Africa. That is a big result. And to help me reflect on that achievement, I have none other than Calvin Sosibo joining me. It's just me and you tonight, Kelvin, as we make quick work of the weekend that was. But first up, of course, congratulations to Masandawana, the ladies team.
A very huge congratulations to them. Good evening to the viewers at home. What an honor having those ladies to walk in the footsteps of the males team. Also lifting the CAF competition cup. I think they've shown that in their domestic league where they've thrashed everybody. I think this now is prudent that the development of Mamelodi Sundowns and the dominance that they're trying to impose in the league, and also giving teams some homeworks to work on in terms of try and empower these women and make sure that you develop and grow women football. Because one of the manifesto that the president has said, which is Mr. Patrice Motsepe, was rebranding of women football, and then also the competition in 2 years, dominate, and also try to dominate globally. Sundowns is actually at the peak. I think they taking good stride in terms of doing that. We see these ladies also on our domestic league. So anyone that will say that Sundowns, when they play that league and they won it with more games on hand, even in the first round they had won the game, somebody was saying that no, let's see what they're going to do in the CAF Champions League. But they put up the same performances that they've been putting in their domestic league, and then they show the rest of the continent that they are a good team. Their male team is not just a pass over, so as them. So they're trying to create that pattern that at Sundowns they are winning things and they have a good structure in place.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, obviously, this, if anything, has to go and become a test case and proof positive that if you do develop and invest in women's football, the rewards are there, especially if you get on the scene. Another move now by Mamelodi Sundowns, Kelvin, of them just being the front of the pack, innovating, changing things, and forcing everybody else to operate at a higher standard.
True. I think this gives pressure to your Orlando Pirates, your Kaiser Chiefs, your SuperSport, your Morocco Swallows, all the teams that want to compete on the continental space. I think that the homework is up there now. They need to start looking, and then they need to start putting up teams that is going to grow the brand of football for the ladies. And I also feel that it's a good model that now when you have that in place, because one of the rules that is going to be in place now is that each and every team that will compete in the CAF competition will have to have a female team. So what does that say into us is that we're going to have a pool of players where we can select now, where most players won't be disadvantaged just because you're not playing for Mamelodi Sundowns. That means you have a lesser look in terms of being in the Banyana squad. So now when you have teams like Kaiser Chiefs, Orlando Pirates, Morocco Swallows, SuperSport also forming a good team of females, it helps the national team and the women's football to grow in leaps and in strength, so that whenever a team competes at that front, you are sure and certain and guarantee that you are going to get quality players all around. As much as we've seen with the guys, all those guys that are playing, most of the teams that are playing in the CAF competition, whenever they come back stronger, starting to appreciate in terms of the experience that they're getting outside there. And now having the same with the women, also being able to go outside and compete and being part of this magnificent and a big tournament. It's actually a plus.
Well, there we go. We were discussing leading up into this one that if you're, interested at all in kind of, being in the football economy, that maybe just thinking about representing female footballers from South Africa might not be a bad career move, because we were also considering just how a lot of our female players have gigs overseas, and obviously that exposure means they are exposed to different economies and scales of economy, and obviously different currencies. So if you're somehow wondering what to do with your life and looking for a change, I think that might be something. If you have football as your passion, and women's football in particular, something that you want to grow in and help grow, that might not be a bad idea to think about becoming a football agent for the ladies of South Africa who play a very competitive and well-renowned brand of football. Joining us now, we have Lebo, who's a Sundowns fan. Lebo, welcome to the show. We were about to touch on the game between them and Cape Town City at the weekend, but I'm guessing you're joining in also to offer your congratulations to the Mamelodi Sundowns ladies football team.
Yes, definitely. Thank you for having me to your stream. I was really proud of how our ladies were playing, because their football was similar to the males team. Their passes at the back, the building up, and then that lady, Talia Schmidt. Yes, man, like her touches were just incredible. Fighting back for the ball and just distributing the ball to the attackers. It was just beautiful. So, and also it was a sweet victory because of what transpired between South Africa and Ghana. So, yes, man, it felt really good. It felt
no,
really
for
good.
sure. I can imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, as a Sundown supporter, are you surprised at all by what your club is doing? In terms of the new, let's say, terrains and parts of football that they're exposing South Africans to? Because let's be honest, I mean, who would have thought that a South African women's team would be winning the Champions League? But there we go. Once again, Sundowns setting the pace.
I'm not really surprised. I mean, you listen to Shoppy Motsepe speaking, and you can hear that the guy is passionate about his position, is passionate about the teams, and he's trying to invest into all the teams so that they develop and become better teams. And the way they compensate the team, they didn't wait for CAF to say they're going to compensate the winners with this much money and all of that. He immediately said Sundowns is going to compensate its players and reward them for their hard work. I mean, like, they did an amazing work. So I'm not surprised at all. They went through the entire tournament without ever conceding. So that should say pretty much how all our teams play. Even the men's team haven't conceded. So it's really beautiful. It feels good to be a Sundowns fan right now.
No, there we go. Let's move on to the men's team, up against a team that seems to, meet them pound for pound when it takes to the field. Of course, beating them in the cup final. They met again in the league this weekend. This time it was a draw. So Cape Town City lost in the cup final, drew this time round. Do you think the next time they're going to beat you? Because that would complete the set.
They're not going to beat us. The problem is Tinkler knows how to frustrate us. Like he's got us figured out. It's like Gavin Hunt who comes to Sundowns knowing he's going to get it wrong. It's painful to watch, but then again, Neo Maema has been playing really good. But for some odd reason, he started on the bench, which didn't really make sense to me. But I was like, whoever our coaches trust and put out there, I'm going to support, because they know how to better. They see the players every day and they work with them. So I was just like, I love this team. Whoever the coaches put out there, I'm going to support and cheer. But we are also helped by the fact that we have an engine in Andy Lejali. Yes, sir. You see there, whenever he's in the game, I know that we're going to play better. for some odd reason, they just took long to make decisions on substitutions. Like Themba Zwane is our star player, but on the day he wasn't on top of his game.
Right.
He should have been a bit earlier. And another player that I would have loved to see was Sereno. He's just warming up that bench badly.
Do you think it's the beginning of the end for Sereno?
I think it's just revenge for him wanting to move away, in a way, which is sad because he's really a good player and he contributes a lot to Sundowns. Whenever he comes, his touches, he troubles the defense and he brings a movement forward when we attack. So, yeah, it's just sad to see him not playing
at the moment. So I want to find out from you from a tactical perspective, what has Tinkler gotten figured out about Mamelodi Sundowns in terms of how he sets up his teams to always look very equal? You know, up until Sundowns do an action that'll show the golf in class by either winning the game or whatever. But like for the most part, you know, Eric Tinkler seems to know how to set up a team to take on Mamelodi Sundowns. What is he doing tactically?
I think it's the mentality of not allowing themselves to be swallowed by Sundowns playing at the back, building at the back. And they know when to rush back and defend. Like, they're not really building a low block, but they build something similar to that to close out any chances.
Okay, I want to please score that answer, Coach Soso. From a tactical perspective, please score Lebo's answer there, because I want to know if Lebo, you know, was he saying the things, or was Lebo just, you know, armchair coaching? I want you to tell me if this man knows his story or not. Soso.
No, he is in there. He's in the mix. He's starting to understand the game a little bit.
Okay.
He's in the mix. He's kudos Lebo. Just do more homework and do a lot of analyzing, but you're on the right path. Yeah, in a way, he's right in some of the points. But what I think what happened on this Eric Tinkler's side was that Tinkler always play on transition. Defensive transition was good from his side, from the fullbacks pushing up for overloads, which minimizes Sundowns in terms of their speed that they have, because also they boast also the same speed, which is Cape Town City. So with Sundowns playing a very cautious game, knowing that that team has a lot of energy and got a lot of players that can play interpasses and that can find the lines, playing between the lines, and also have the ball retention within them. So with Sundowns playing similar game within the Cape Town City, it became a difficult game for pound, which is the winner of the game will always be a team that always masters the spaces, and which is City has mastered that in terms of when they are playing with Sundowns, because as much as Sundowns can dominate the game, but they're not dominating the game in terms of in position that could hurt Cape Town City. What City will do is then when they play the reinforced game, which is they do not push too high up, which allows Sundowns to play on top of their half. But now that it leaves them open at the back, because you're having your two fullbacks that are always pushing up, which open vacant spaces at the back on the wing. And knowing that you have speed, you cannot risk that. So Sundowns, what they then did was the same game application that they had in the MTN 8, which is to play in a rest defense, knowing that where the ball is going to land, and then trying to minimize the speed of those players that are up front, which is you had a slightly change now up front, which you had Mdantsane and Lakay and a surprise playing up front. Not much of that speed, but being led with Lakay creating so much goals. So the player like Ralani, who tried to move Sundowns into one position to free Lakay, because Lakay in the first opening had a lot of chances he could have scored. Now again, with Sundowns being worried about speed at the back, because they had the Grand Kekane, they had the Lebusa, who not the quickest, and having the Mudau that always push up, and having the Lunga that likes to overlap and give an offensive balance. But again, he leaves the spaces open for a City to exploit. So within that being said, it was for Tinkler to understand that if they play more compact game, and whenever they have position, they frustrate Sundowns and try and play their game. And not having Mshishi to start the game was on the benefit of Eric, because they didn't have a player that was a playmaker at the end of the day. Yes, they had speed, but I felt that Fasika and Felix dealt well with Shaolile, who had minimal chances, but what was reduced to is to supply the players that were coming late into the box, which was Kutumela, who also I feel that he had a good game. I think it's coming quite nicely into the scheme of things. He's gelling very well with the team.
Okay, cool. All right, well, up on the horizon for Mamelodi Sundowns level is the Tshwane derby against SuperSport. So I want to know your first name on the team sheet and how you think that one is going to pan out.
Well, is that for Lebo?
It's for Lebo, Kelvin. It's for Lebo. You get to be on the show, bro. I'm getting rid of Lebo just now. So,
Go ahead, Lebo, go ahead.
Okay, cool, Lebo, go ahead. First name on the team sheet, and how do you think that result is going to pan out?
I think it goes without saying that Shabalila needs to be there. We need Shabalila to be in the game. Zwane Maema need to play. Like that is a must. I'm hoping that in the second half they can add Serino so that he gets to play a little bit. I think if they keep the same team except take out Kutumela and put Neo Maema, then it should be fine.
I knew he was going to touch a nerve there. You touched a nerve. You touched Kelvin in his studio there. He reckons that Kutumela goes ahead of Maema. Sundowns fans watching on the stream, let us know your thoughts. Why do you think that, Kelvin?
No, I think because this is one player that will give SuperSport problems. With the presence of mind with Shaolile, yes, that's understandable. But remember, Kutumela is the one that always pick up the pieces. Not disregarding Maela, he's done pretty well, but I think the experience comes handy at this point in terms of creativity, opening to space, pace, good on 1v1s, always in the box. As you can see with Sundowns, the goals that they've scored, a lot of goals that which I felt that they score them on set pieces outside the box, which is where you find your Kutumela, finishing with one touch in the box. Sundowns have scored 17 goals, and within that, it's one of those guys that have dominated, which is your Mshishi, Kutumela, and your Shaolile. So not having that trio up front or that combination, and having a Maela. Yes, Maela can come.
Maema, you're right.
Maema can come in to change the game and introduce that dynamic and that energy and force SuperSport on their back foot and always try and play behind them because he's got that speed, he's got that dribbling ability, he's good on his 1v1. So for me, I think it's good as a game changer at this point. Yes, he can be given a chance, but I think for me, starting against SuperSport, a team that has done so well on the league, that has only lost one game, which proves that they are not a team that is just a walkover. So just they almost neck and neck with Sundowns in that way. So that's what I'm saying. A Kutumela to start this game to force.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Level, are you moved? Or are you still going with Maema first?
I hear what he's saying. I love Kutumela's work rate, and I think it's incredible. Just that in the box, it's a different story. Like I'm not against it. I love the guy. I'm a huge fan. Right now we did Maema. Like he brings that little bit of magic,
that X factor, because he's unknown. There's a little bit of the unknown when you're dealing with him. Unlike Kutumela, who's been in the league and people kind of know. But I mean, he's still very much a dynamic player, and I think that's what Kelvin is saying. Lebo, good luck to you and your team in the Tshwane derby. Thank you so much for joining us on Monday Night Football.
Cool. Thank you very much.
There we go. And we've got other thoughts coming in from the chat section. Henry Langa saying, hi all, I feel like the coaches of Sundowns, sometimes they make some arrogant decisions that end up costing the game, like playing players in the wrong positions, which makes them look ordinary. The good thing about Cape Town City, they don't sit back, they also circulate the ball. Koketso Miller, what up? Eric Tinkler is showing other teams in the DSTV Prem that when you show up with confidence and not allow downs to dictate the game, then you will get results. CTC might not have won, but they showed up. So there we go. That's ending that retrospection as far as the game was concerned. It ended 0-0. Sundown still unbeaten. And I guess a good clean sheet for both Marks and Onyango in the goals of the two respective teams. Let's move on as Kaizer Chiefs have found some momentum as far as the season is concerned, and putting their former coach in Ernst to the sword was Bernard Parker's solitary goal in their win. That game was delayed by about 90 minutes, I think, due to electrical issues. You can tell it's after elections that they're done and dusted, because now these things come up. Let's get into that game. Kaizer Chiefs on the road, continuing with I guess the project, it's looking like it's coming together, Kelvin. As far as some momentum, stringing together of results. I'm sure Stuart Baxter will tell you it's not fully formed, whatever he's cooking. But do you like the smell? Do you like the aroma of what's cooking in the kitchen when it comes to Kaizer Chiefs?
Yeah, I think at this point, one of the points that I'm going to touch on is another great result for them, for the Glamour Boys. Good confidence booster. Kept a clean sheet, played 11 games, won 5, drew 3, lost 3. But for me, I think they were not convincing in their performances, as United dominated position, 60% of position, and had more shots. They had 10 and then 5 on target. And that game, it was a game that was it was a very technical game in a sense, which, as you saw, Keagan Ritchie playing right back, and then we saw Ali playing left back. But I know some of us will be asking ourselves, why did Coach Midfield do that? I think
why did he do that, Kelvin? Tell us. We do want to know. Yes. That's why. Go ahead. Sorry, my bad.
So what was he trying to do? He was trying to eliminate. Because you had the Parker and you had the Billiards, who always like to cut in. So you play a player that is not his original position. Those are two players that are playing with the opposite foot. So you play a left back at the right back because you want to avoid your Billiards and your Parker cutting in from the inside, and them playing as inverted wingers. So they're not going to offer much in terms of going forward, which is, you saw the game. They dominated the game, and also Chiefs were caught in that, because every time when they were trying to have those combination play, they were not successful, because those players were stronger on the when cutting inside rather than going out, which is the same mistake that the coach had made, was not playing with natural wingers was going to pose a threat to Maritzburg United, but it didn't pose a threat because you had strikers, that you have a Parker that is you can play with his left and right, and you have a Billiard that likes to cut inside. So how do you match that? Then you match it in a way that you put the opposite player. You take a right back, you play him left back. You take a left back, you play him as a right back. So in that, you don't allow any interchange and finding spaces or the line, or allow crosses. As you saw, that there were little crosses that were supplied by Chiefs, and also with the United always try to play on a fast break attack. But again, a coach that has started with 7 defenders showed that he didn't want to risk anything coming into this game. So a draw was going to be a best result. So the win that they had, it was a late goal that came in, which is a point that they didn't try to play, as a domination of ball position was maintained by Maritzburg United.
So are you saying that the plan worked in terms of the approach? And am I understanding you correctly? The moment you invert your wingers, it's best to also invert your wing backs. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. So in a way, what then changed? But that game plan worked perfectly well for Chiefs. That's why they didn't concede first half. Immediately when they started introducing Sekhukhune, that's when it changed. And they were able now to find the spaces behind, and then the 1v1s and getting crosses in the box. That's why the goal that was scored from a cross. An interchange of passes to the wing, and then a header into the goals. So this is like one top tactical coach that I think that does his homework and makes sure that it pins it down. But it boils down to the last minute and the game management and the concentration of players, because I think he managed the game. He knows all those players, their strong points and their weaknesses. And with him have worked with those players, he know how to neutralize them. And applying that game tactics, one will look at the team sheet and say, is this coach crazy? But no, it helped him, but in a way, then another coach had different answers, which was, he was hoping that he was not going to introduce Sekhukhune or a natural winger. If they still continue the same with strikers like Parker playing on the outer but playing more compact, that game would have ended easy with the draw.
Yeah. Maritzburg United haven't won in their last 3. And of course, for Kaiser Chiefs, the victory prior to this one was the one over the old enemy in Orlando Pirates as far as the derby was concerned. Bernard Parker getting on the score sheet in this game from what was, I guess, when you speak about the coach knowing the players, Kelvin, obviously there's always room to kind of sneak in something that he wouldn't have known. And that's how well they use that set piece. Sometimes we talk about set pieces and it's, very obvious a lot of the time, from the corner into the box. This time Chiefs tried something a little different, and you always need to add these little isms to your game just to give you an edge in these type of situations, and it worked like a charm.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I think that's a job of a coach, to always analyze the personality, the type of players that the team still has, their shortfalls in terms of how they defend as a group defending. Do they still apply the same principles as when you were there, or there's a slight change in terms of is the team defending into a zonal stage, or is the team going for a man-to-man? I think one of those things, it takes a coach that is very, very critical on his analysis and goes deeper into the game. When you know the team's weaknesses and you move into another team, it's all about having to find out that are the same players still being played on the same position with their shortfalls, and then you capitalize on that. What you then need to do is you find players that are well suited in terms of giving you your tactical approach in going into that game. So when you approach that game with players that are going to deliver on those specific positions, it helps you. But with Chiefs gearing in, not looking much to go all out, it was good to also to see Castro coming in also after a long time from his from an injury layout, which for me, I think Chiefs still needs to have an out-and-out striker in order for them to fashion goals, because at the position that they are seated in now, it's not it's worrisome for fans. Even though he's moving towards a safer cushion to the fans, where he's still picking up those 3 points, but I think it's still that convincing, because the game that he's playing right now is too defensive, and I think his transition at this point has not been fine-tuned, or the type of players that he had when he left are no longer the same players that are still there. So I think he needs to change his game approach in a way in order for him to actually bring the fans back, because Chiefs fans are fans that appreciate good football and also want to win at the same time. They are fans that will want to see what you're really trying to do, and then try to follow in terms of your philosophy. But at this point, the philosophy is still too bleak for them to understand.
Okay, well, what do you make of Vusi Makamu? He's in the chat section. He reckons, I still feel like the Chiefs coach is not a risk taker, hence he always plays old and experienced players, protecting himself. Is that a fair assessment of how Stuart Baxter is assembling his teams?
Yeah, I think he's right. I think he's right in a way where he's going for safety. I think at this point as a coach, firstly, you want to settle down, make sure that you get your ducks in a row, because playing risky football can cost you a job. So he wants to honor the contract in a way that he's trying to play a little bit more defensive and cautious and well and tested players while he's trying to build his philosophy. But now again, we go back and say, has the coach evolved with the game, or is still behind? For me, it's an easy yes. He has not. It's an easy no. He has not evolved with the game, because he's still applying the same system that he applied when those good players were still around. So
Right.
what then you need to do? What I noticed and what I've picked up on this game is there was not even one Kaizer Chiefs graduate on the field. And the players that were there, the youngest player was Frosler, who actually played on that game. So for me, it's kind of disappointing to see such happening at that club, because it means that you're not trying to encourage to build players of your own and try to compete on all
Yeah.
fronts and get in the development players. Because if you're not going to have even one Kaizer Chiefs graduate, it's kind of disappointing for me. But I think they're going to rectify that and try to work towards taking risk as
But I mean, so you say that. I mean, that means he's stuck between a rock and a hard place, because you talk about him blooding youngsters, but at the same time, the fans want results. How do you reconcile the two?
Well, there's always a good method in terms of blending the good graduates that you got. I think those players that are there on the bench are capable. I think for him, for the coach at this point, he's just going for safety and to secure his job. It's not about him risking his job by fielding those players. It's not that those players are bad overnight.
Okay, but then
yeah.
How does this work then? Because they've got the likes of Sarah who's there to come and bring through the youth. So you have this drive, but then you have a coach who doesn't believe in the youth. So how do the two work together? I mean, you know what I mean? Molefinseki, my bad. Sorry, I got them confused there for a sec. Molefinseki is there. And you've got a guy who obviously has been brought in to help you not have to spend as much, because obviously when you develop, you might not be susceptible to the big transfer fees, but don't get it twisted. I mean, developing players costs money and takes time. So how do you do that? Or do you think by the time those players are ready for first team action, Stuart Baxter might not be at the helm, and someone who is more in line with what the club is doing or wants to do might be? I don't understand how you have this whole academy that, we're praising and saying we're resurrecting, and to your point, not enough of their own youngsters on the field.
Yeah, it's kind of confusing at this point. I think Nzeki is under a compromise, because I think Chiefs has produced some youngsters that we've seen where they were left with a ban and they couldn't sign players. Those youngsters came in and delivered. So like any other coach that will come into a new team, you'll always try to find players that are well tested, that can deliver and get him the result. So blending in youngsters for him might not be part of his belief. For me, has never has never came across to me as a coach that liked youngsters, because even if you look at the core team that he had when he left Chiefs, it wasn't most youngster orientated. It was more like senior players that were there. So I think he's still on the same footsteps, that he wants experience and he wants trial and tested players. Yes, he might feel those one or two youngsters, but at this point, him being under pressure, I don't think it's a wise move for him to take that. But also having a development that is not flourishing, because the only way it's going to flourish is by you having to understand that all those players that you have promoted, they are getting a taste of game time, because this is the players that will have to replace those ones who are now slowly weighing off their legs.
All right. Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how that one develops as the talent develops at Kaizer Chiefs. So we move on to another result as far as the league is concerned. TS Galaxy managing to beat the Dube Birds and Swallows FC 1-0. The scoreline there, and it was a debutant in Mahlangu who was on the pitch, who got that winning goal and further heaped more misery on Brandon Truta and his players. But what of Galaxy? I mean, as someone who's coaching and someone who's, looking to be in that field one day professionally, Kelvin, it must be quite heartwarming to see it for a coach who's new. You may not know the guy, but now at Galaxy, he's got his first win under the belt. And it looks like his message is getting through to his players. How happy does that make you for a fellow coach to finally see something like that come to pass?
Oh, very interesting. It's heartwarming. It's really, really heartwarming. TS Galaxy moving up the log in the expense of a very inconsistent Moroka Swallows, I think. I feel who sees themselves in the bottom of the log. 1 win, 5 draws, 5 losses. Good confidence booster for TX Galaxy as they collect three points. I think for me, the FIFA break helped the new coach to start working in terms of the team structure, having to get the philosophy in terms of how they need to defend, how they need to attack. And with having that in place, I think that that actually proved that him getting that break was really needed to sharpen his soldiers in going to war. As much as he didn't have time when he was coming over, but I think these FIFA breaks, they helped teams in different ways, from injuries and also sharpening up on your tactics and also buying time for a coach that's just being introduced into the team. With the Morocco Swallows, I don't really understand what's really going on there. I don't see a motivated shooter, not always up in his feet now, always now reserved to watch the game with, so to call it, maybe like with a very, very low gear, less enthusiasm into the game. But I don't know. I think the internal.
What do they need there, Swallows? I mean, is it a case now because Brandon Truta, Simo Dladla, obviously, I think those two are like water and oil. So when you bring in a new coach, is it a fact of just, a new group sweeps clean? Do you have to get rid of both of them? Because I guess, the Simo experiment didn't quite work. You'll probably argue that he needed more time. But how do you fix what's happening at Swallows? Do you need to chuck everybody out and start afresh? How would you reassemble that technical team?
Well, whenever they say that a new broom sweeps better, I think the old broom knows all the dirt. So with the old broom knowing all the dirt, meaning that Brandon Tuta does understand what's really going on there. So him taking a back seat,
when you buy a broom and then like it becomes weird at the tips and it becomes flat, and when you sweep, it doesn't sweep anymore. What happens if the broom is like that?
All the dirt.
That's fine, but it's not working. The broom isn't working.
Okay,
the broom isn't working.
Moving along in a way that you have too many people who are actually who are going to spoil this broth, because there's too many spices in the sport now, which we find that a shooter that is taking a backseat trying to maybe allow. To me, it looks like Simo is actually in charge at this position. It looks like he's the one that is in charge, that's giving up instruction, that is always up, is on the line, motivating players. We're seeing this outside, which is affecting also Swallows, because you saw also the changes that they've been making, the way they've been playing. It's not much of the same enthusiastic Morocco Swallows. They will attack, try and keep the ball around, play a positional game, find spaces, because Swallows was good on a counter-attack. Never used to concede goals as much as they've been conceding right now. So there's a lot of mixed up that is actually happening at Morocco Swallows at this point. I think it's two philosophies being introduced into players, and this is causing player confusion at this point, because it's not, it is the same team. What you're seeing now is little individuals that are trying to pop up, the like of Solomon, who's coming up, which is a very, very exciting youngster with speed, who's trying to go forward and try and gear the team. You're not seeing the same Hamilton that you saw last season. I may not say that he's blowing out of steam, but there's a little bit of a personal touch that needs to come from maybe a coach that understands him better in order for them to fashion goals. Because at this point, they've been lacking. He hasn't showed us the same performances that he's been giving us, where he had a very, very, very good average per game on scoring goals. At this point, that is way, way, way down there.
But I mean, is that not a perennial problem in our league? I mean, please, I stand to be corrected, but tell me a striker who's had 2 back-to-back hot seasons.
I think there's one that I can point out to you, that is Shaolide. I think he's done well.
Besides, okay. Yes, no, for sure. Besides him. My point is very difficult.
I can't point too
far. What I mean? It's like, it's very difficult.
I can't point too far. I can just point close.
You go what?
Yeah. I can't point too far. I cannot point too far. I think Shaolile was the best example. Yes, you're right. There isn't much strikers that stay consistent in the game and then come back in the next season and then they still stay within the same mandate or try to break their own records. So at this point, I think he also needs support also from Morocco Swallows. Also them, they need to find another striker that's going to share the work rate. Because I think with Shaulile, he's well supported in terms of creativity and players that are surrounding him. But again, we go back to the same Morocco Swallows, who they lost some of the players that were key players on that team that helped them to be in the position that they were last season. So for me to have an extra striker that's going to give him a competition also or support him, because when you see Shaulile, you also see Mbala, you also see Kutumela, you see a whole lot of good strikers that are also on the bench. So it helps those strikers, even though if Shaulile is the main striker, he's always going to get support. If he doesn't score, it creates opportunities for the rest. But with Hamaldine, it's not the same that could be said.
Well, let's see. Mope Musonda obviously has something he'd like to say about that, having been brought in. But yeah, 22nd of August against Royal AM is the last time that they won in the league. Morocco Swallows, it's not been happy sailing for them. But on the side of Coach Dremovic, he's managed to now get, as we reflected upon, his second victory. The first, obviously, being against Morocco. And then at the weekend, managing to get one over the Dube Birds in Swallows FC. So congratulations to TS Galaxy. I'm sure that the chairman of that club is breathing a slight sigh of relief, but we're only a third of the season in, and there are going to be some tougher tests ahead. And let's go speak about a team where there was also another change. One of the teammates then took charge of the team, having played for the club. Kurt Lenkies took to the dugout against Baroka, a Baroka side who've also made a substitution of their own. As far as the coaching department is concerned, Mr. Football will kill you back in the hot seat. Can we expect much better? Looking at that change that's been made. Kelvin, how do you think that one's going to pan out? I mean, obviously not the best start against another new coach in Kurt Lenkies, especially at home. Is it going to end in tears for Baroka?
Yeah, for Baroka, it might end in tears. For Baroka, it might end in tears because you're losing the quality coach and you're introducing somebody that's not that well versed in terms of following the game model or the modern trend of the game.
I think you're talking about birds of a feather here, maybe. I don't think that they're that different, the two coaches, unless one has a piece of paper that sets them apart from the other.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm more concerned about the players, the level of coaching that they're going to be getting, and the level of performances that they will have. I'm looking at a player like Makgopa, who I think is going to suffer severely in terms of for me, how he has been performing. And then having to have a low quality of coaching, it's going to really affect him. So for me, I think if he doesn't move by January, I don't think you're going to see him being featured more in the national team. We don't want to lose that treasure at this point. And having such a coach at the helm, it's not going to develop his game. So for me, that's the challenge that I'm actually foreseeing at the Baroka. But going back to Chippa United, first win for Kurt Lenkies, Ngele scoring on the 75th minute. It moves them to 12th position, 11 games, 2 wins, 4 draws, 5 losses. So for a very good, for a start, I think Kurt has started well, as much as the other coach that has came in, which is Dan. So they both new coaches that got 3 points on the weekend. So for Kurt, for me, I think he can just continue in the same performances that the team has. That's going to really compromise Kevin, because I think now there's a sign of hope from Chippa Mpengesi. He's starting not to doubt the decision to give an opportunity to a young coach to be in charge of his 50 million status at this point. So I think for me, it's still worth it for him, but how long will it continue to be in this way? Happy for him. I hope that many more results will come. And I think as being young, and if he just can command the respect from the players and apply everything that he has learned in his coaching career even though it's still new. I think that with the fresher guys coming into the game and also have played the game, there's ways where you can manipulate the game, knowing very well what to do and what type of players that are needed in certain positions. So I'm happy for the opportunity that Chipa has offered to Kurt, and I can only hope that he does well and make a name for himself. I think this maybe might be him considering the fact that he needs to hang his boots.
Well, I mean, I see what you're saying as far as Kurt coming in. I mean, he also admitted that it was a case of changing the confidence around the camp and making players believe in themselves again. It's very easy for the coaches to be, you know, good communicators and get those things through. But obviously the best coaches and the great coaches are separated by knowing that when the talk isn't enough, when the pep talks aren't enough, you have to be able to be tactically astute and get your team out of a bind. Did you see anything tactically from Kurt in that game that makes you think that he's got what it takes?
Not much of a tactical acumen, but I think they still played the same way that they've played. The only difference was that I think they were a little bit motivated with what Kurt has imparted into them. Yes, again, going back into making sure that players believe in themselves. Like a player will always come up and make you realize or motivate you in a way that this is your job and this is what you are paid to do. So if you don't deliver, all our jobs is at stake. I think that will always be the message that will be driven in the dressing room in order for us to perform. So for me, if you get hold of the dressing room in terms of motivating them, because I think players that are there, they are capable. They've been signed because of their quality that they have. And for me, it's the only thing that is needed just to motivate players. I watched one of the games at AS Roma, where Jose Mourinho promised a player sneakers if he scored, one of his favorite sneakers that he wanted to buy. So a player said, if I score, you're going to buy me those sneakers. A player went yesterday, then scored 2 goals. And then Mourinho came back and then delivered and brought the sneakers for the player. So it's little things that are too touch and personal to players that makes them to believe in themselves and come out and be better players and wants to fight for the coach. Because if you find players that wants to fight for you, they are also fighting for their jobs. Because if you think you're going to manipulate the coach, you're also manipulating your job, because at the end of the day, you might not stay longer at that team.
Did you see what sneakers they got him?
Those are Balenciaga.
Yeah, Balenciagas. I know you knew what they were when you saw them. You were like, damn it. Listen, when we get to 20,000 subscribers, I'll get you some Balenciagas, Calvin. How's that?
Yeah, no, for sure. No, we're getting there slowly. We're just motivating them and giving them
Chinatown is right here by my house, bro.
To that.
We're going to get you Balenciagas. We're going to get you anything you want, as many as you want, in different colors as well. But let's move on as far as, actually on that point, just to kind of codify the whole thing around the Diski Challenge. An interesting point is that obviously Baroka is sitting in 5th. They've taken Coach Tobejani from that team and have moved him to the senior team, hoping that he can somehow, you know, replicate what is a good log-standing position. But obviously the top flight is a different beast. And then in 3rd position in the same table are the Chipa United reserves, who are sitting with 22 points. So where we have one coach coming in, you know, we also, I guess, have a club who are looking to also replicate their younger team by having their senior team move further up the table. And Kurt Lenkies is off to a good start. You alluded to it already with Dan Dance Malisela coming into the job at Maruma Gallants, another coach as well, getting off to a winning start. You know, obviously, he's a very philosophical man, Pradan, saying, you know, the rains kind of washed away the old specter of them not being able to get a victory. He's gotten the first one. They're still at the bottom of the table. Lots of work ahead, but positive signs, surely.
Surely positive sign. Yes, Dan, I think for me, he has came in there, stamped his authority, spoken to the boys that you guys are good players. You guys can do the job. All you need to do is all players that are here, I want them to do exactly what they're supposed to do in order for us to get to fashion good results. Nobody expected them to win this game 2-1 against SuperSport. which then proves that if we stick to our strength, it's always easier to beat teams that are most feared, that are up there at the top, because different tactics don't work for all the teams. With Dan coming to the helm and fashioning a result on his first game, it means there are good signs. There are good signs that are ahead of that team, in a sense that there are players there. All that was missing there, I think it's an element of making those players to enjoy football, because when they travel to Africa, nobody gave them a chance to win anything in Africa. Most of us expected them to crash out in the first leg, but they advance. They keep on advancing each and every time. So instilling that belief and that confidence on those players, and getting that philosophy instilled in that team, because they are a ball-playing team. The likes of Ndlondo, Utladisa, who are there, who offer the creativity in that midfield. It gives you, it worries most of the team when they look at Maruma Gallants. They might be at the bottom, but they do give teams a run for their money. So when Dan is there now, all he's got to do is has settled in well. He has got the 3 points. It's about getting the next 3 points. Then you start seeing the Maruma Gallants playing beautiful football, like how we saw with Chipa. So if you can still maintain coaches that make us realize and believe on our potential, that we are good players, and all you got to do is just to keep the ball on the ground and entertain fans and move out from the field, have enjoyed playing football, not always trying to play on transition football, always ball forward and whatnot. It's not for everybody. And remember, most teams are limited in terms of other teams within the talent that they have at the helm.
Okay, well, obviously then the spotlight now falls on to SuperSport United, who it might be a case of 2 losses on the trot, considering their next opponents are Mamelodi Sundowns. What are you making of Gaetano Tembo's team? Is it just them being SuperSport and, you know, the inconsistency starting to creep in again? It tends to be what derails their season, or is it much ado about nothing? Do you think they'll rise up? Because you know how they always say, when players lose a game, they'll bounce back in the next one. But being asked to bounce back against Sundowns, you know, when they also are bouncing back from a draw, which you know, to them feels like a defeat, it makes for quite a lip-licking encounter in prospect as far as that derby is concerned, Kelvin.
Yeah, the way how they set up as well, I wasn't so happy about it. But with a high in confidence Mokoena that was there in the middle, with Don Krobler, also not that convincing for me. But it was good to see Gabuza on the score sheet, who's been consistent. I think his name has been in the score sheet for the couple of games that I've watched now for him. I think he's actually a breath of fresh air from the SuperSport setup, which is that was a task that was taken by Mr. Krobler. So having that player always being on the score sheet motivates other players, even though they play a little bit deep, because you find that now Gabuza is the one that always run and chase the balls and go for each and every ball that will be played behind or in front, with the Krobler trying to go deeper and fetch the ball. What I find that was working against SuperSport at this game was that you had a Dawn and a Mokoena, and I think a Dawn that was little experience, and you saw a system whereby they play with a flat 2 in the middle, and Maruma Gallants came with 3. So meaning that they were always going to be overloaded in the middle and not having the same game tempo as Maruma Gallants that has brought to SuperSport. Mokoena tried in that way, but I think he's more used to playing with Mbule. With an absence of Mbule, that combination are not really that silk anymore. They're not finding the Krobler, the Gabuza so easily, because I felt that in this game, a player like Arubi controlled the game very well, and also a player like Utladisa, they managed Gabuza, because when you have a striker that is dropping too deep, and then you have 2 center back that having to control 1 striker, it becomes easy. Then they add more numbers in the midfield, which this is why they were more dominant in their half, and always find openings in SuperSport half, with SuperSport struggling to come out from their own field, from their own half, and finding the Krobler to penetrate or go behind or play between the lines. So I think within that, playing with two strikers, but always trying to get strikers to drop deeper has worked against them because it added more pressure on the players.
Okay, cool. That's a very good assessment there. Thank you, Calvin, because I want you to do the same now for Sekhukhune in action against Royal AM. I mean, Royal AM puffed and were really on the front foot trying to find something in this game. They weren't able to get it on the score sheet. And even their coach was like, I can't really fault my players. They did apply themselves, but Coach McDonald, knows how to get a result at home. Saying that obviously if you don't win at home, where are you going to win? And he trusted his defenders who were really, really good in that game. And so was the goalkeeper, and just keeping things shut tight at the back there. Clean sheet and 3 points in the bag, a champion score. It doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, very, very, very true. I think with Sekhukhune coach, I think he's not sitting third by mistake. I think the guys at the technical team are doing their work. I think they came into this game knowing very well what the Royal AM are capable of, minimizing spaces for them, not allowing them to play, the restarting of the game, no build-up play, enforced their game, made sure that they put Royal AM on the back foot, played a very aggressive game, took the game to Royal AM, made them uncomfortable. So with that tactical acumen coming from the coaches, knowing very well that if you do offer spaces for Royal AM, they will dispossess the ball, they will circulate the ball around, even though they will play in phases, but they are not the most good defending team currently. If you find an opportunity or you have speed to exploit them, you are able to fashion some goals. They may score goals, and they are a scorable team as well. So with McDonald coming into the game, imposing his game and making sure that he drives his players to go and try and disrupt these performances that Royal AM has been having, and also them being a newbies in the league, trying to cement their position and offering the most tactical football, because at some times when you find a team that is more gifted in terms of ball position, who will exploit you, you'll always try and impose the uncomfortable game to them, which I think the Sekhukhune guys have done so well in that, in a way that they've been getting so much results, because no one has been actually analyzing and assessing how Sekhukhune are sitting third. You are worried about Sundowns, your Pirates, and SuperSport, but no one, or Stellenbosch, but no one is actually looking at Sekhukhune because they are fresh on the league. The same that happened with Morocco Swallows. They came in with the same energy.
Swallows FC. Hey, don't get us sued, bro.
Oh, Swallows FC. My bad. Swallows FC came in with the same energy, but I think with Sekhukhune, with the consistency that they have, let us just hope that come January, they're going to beef up and still carry on and have the same momentum.
Well, yeah, there we go. Time will tell, but congratulations to the coach being able to, just lead that team to a consistent home record so far this season. We're going to move on to another game that saw Stellenbosch in action against AmaZulu, and that one saw Stellies take a 2-0 lead, and then they were clawing their way back into this game with AmaZulu. Is this a case of swings and roundabouts, Kelvin? Some will argue that maybe Sage Stevens might not have been on the pitch. There was a tackle or save, but he didn't get any of the ball. And then, he obviously might have felt aggrieved when De Jong kind of rushes into him after that badly taken corner, and badly from the positioning, not how Keagan Buchanan took it. I'm sure he'll be very happy with the end result, but the mere fact that the ball wasn't on the line. Is this just, is this the ref just balancing things out? Bad referee performances balancing things out, Sage not getting carded and being on the pitch, to then him, obviously thinking it's a foul. But no one seems to have seen that wasn't a well taken corner kick as far as the rules are concerned.
Yeah. No, I think that was a very fast-paced game. Having the Cape Townian coach who will always be aggrieved playing at home and wants to fashion a win. I think it was a little bit of imbalance game. The ref got most of the decisions wrong. First of all, with the equalizer from Keagan Buchanan, with the ball not being in the right place, which the ball means that it was played inside the field instead of being on the perimeters of the corner line. But
please explain that one to me, Kelvin. Kelvin, please explain to me, where was the linesman or the assistant referee supposed to be? Because what would have happened in that instance if the referee was like, I'm stopping the play for something? Let's say, two players are argy-bargy in the box. I didn't see any of the assistants close to that corner. Instead, when they, when they zoomed out, what you saw was just the cameraman and the ball taker. So I know they're on opposite sides. Is it not a case of, if you're close to the corner as an assistant, you should be close to the ball to see if it's been taken correctly? Am I missing something? Was the assistant in the right place when all this happened?
Well, in this level, in this league, referees will be on the opposite side, so they cover one half.
Yes.
So the other linesman was actually at the halfway line, which is half going up, and the linesman on the opposite side covers the other side.
Yes.
So, but it was for the linesman to spot that the ball is not being put in the right place, because he can see it from the halfway line to right to the corner line. He could have flagged for that, because this has been a tendency. I've watched a couple of games when Keagan Buchanan takes corners. It's never on the circle. Most players now are taking advantage because of the referees not paying attention into that smaller details, which is, I feel this has cost Stellenbosch an illegal goal.
Okay, so now I'm struggling to understand this one. So what happens, like I say, if there's something happening in the center circle, and you know how they have the linesman or the assistant ref stand in front of the ball, as in you cannot take it. Are you telling me that if that had happened in that situation, the guy would have had to run from the halfway line all the way to the corner for that to be the case? That doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't have to run to the corner. Remember, comes the line. Both linesmen cover one half.
I get it. I'm saying that if Keagan is in that situation where he's in, right, and the ref is tending to something in the center, and the linesman or the assistant, as they do, and as I've seen, they stop the players from taking the kick. If that was going to be the case, if the ref had decided I'm pausing things, are you telling me that guy would have had to move from halfway to come and do that?
No, the ref was supposed to be closer on the box because it's a corner kick. So being at
is it not the assistant who looks at the corner? When it's a corner kick, it's not the assistant who assesses whether it's on the line.
I think the point here is that the corner was taken on the opposite side, where the linesman is not covering that side. So
yes,
the other linesman on the other side.
I'm asking if it isn't covering mean that he must be closest to the ball. Is that not what that means?
Yes, it means exactly that.
Yes, so that means he should have been closer. Anyway, I mean, yeah, the referees need help. We say it every week. And, maybe one day we're going to say it and it's going to happen and we're going to look like, we can see into the future and such. But yeah, in that game there, AmaZulu were very lucky to get back into it and walk away with a share of the spoils. Stelli's very consistent, very good as far as the way they fashion chances, and the talent that they're unearthing is a sight to behold. Very quickly going to reflect on some of the other results. Cape Town City and Sundowns, we spoke about that one earlier. Golden Arrow is also playing out to a 0-0 draw with Pepra, Makaringe, Hoto, all having chances to get on the score sheet. And if it wasn't the goalkeeper who got it, was the post or the bar. Obviously for Orlando Pirates fans, not the ideal result from that one, especially as Mamelodi Sundowns dropped points and dropped ground. And obviously, you have Chiefs who also won this weekend to actually leapfrog Orlando Pirates. Positives from that weekend performance. Are they looking like a side that's going to be in the mix? I know that doesn't seem fathomable at this point, but are you seeing signs of progress at all, Calvin?
Yeah, there are signs of progress in terms of fixing the backline. I think that backline is sorted now with Nda coming in. Also with the Happy Jelly being injured and the testing of Nyauza as well with Nda. I think now they're just trying to find a comfortable pairing with who's going to play with Nda. Is it going to be Happy Jelly? Is it a Sam? Is it a Hlachwayo? But at this point, it doesn't look like Hlachwayo is going to take any part in terms of the defensive role. Maybe they're going to select games where they're going to place him, but at this point, it doesn't look like he's going to get an opportunity to be able to play with Nda. Yes, there are good signs that are coming. They're starting to create more chances. It's just that they're not finding the back of the net. They're trying to have a good interchange of passing football, finding the lines, movement of the ball, isolation in the wings. I think what has worked against Orlando Pirates is the injuries that they have, but now there's a sign of relief and that one of the players is out there. One of the players is actually recovering. We're having a Mayela who is recovering from his injury, and Lepasa also, which is going to be a great boost into the team, as they do need someone that's going to offer that creativity and also assist with the Pepra, because Pepra is coming along. He's actually finding his feet at Orlando Pirates. I think if all those players that are injured will come back, I think for me, Orlando Pirates can fashion some results. But at this point, I think they're still in the building phase with Ngigazi trying all sort of combination, even though he's being disadvantaged by the injuries that he's got at the team. But for me, I think he's coming along slowly, but it's a matter of that how patient is the Orlando Pirates fans are with him. Because at this point, they are not scoring, they are not winning games, even though they are drawing games. But it's not a good sign, as you just rightfully pointed that Kaiser Chiefs leapfrogged them, and Sundowns also dropping ground at the same time. It's always we always want to see a good picture where we see in the mix Orlando Pirates, Kaiser Chiefs, Mamelodi Sundowns being in the same lines. Even the margin mustn't be that big, so it shows with one team has advanced more than the other teams. Two teams have dropped dramatically, which is Orlando Pirates. They've fell away from the ladder. Kaiser Chiefs as well, they're climbing slowly, but this is not a picture that we've been expecting, seeing as Sekhukhune sitting second and a SuperSport. We know a SuperSport is always consistent in terms of staying on the top 8 or top 4 on the long. So I think this is Orlando Pirates having to try and really bring out good results for their fans, because I think they've been patient enough with the coaches at the helm.
Okay, cool. Well, there we go. That's a recap of what's been happening as far as Mzansi football is concerned. Looking ahead to midweek fixtures, Stelli's in action against the Orlando Pirates. You got the Tshwane Derby in Sundowns in action against SuperSport. And then it's AmaZulu in action against Kaiser Chiefs as well. Those are some of the midweek fixtures that are on the horizon, things to look forward to. Thank you so much to everybody who's tuned in this evening. That's pretty much us done and dusted, but I'd be remiss to leave without reading more of your comments as far as the stream is concerned. TT Camera saying, Danko Masandawana ladies, we are proud of you. Viva Yellow Nation, Viva Gabu Yellow. Every day the star is born in Mamelodi. You can have comments here from Vusi saying, Royal AM, it was just paraffin fire. Okay, so I guess there were no bonuses this weekend for Royal AM for players. And he reckons that when it comes to Pirates, they're still developing the structures bit by bit. It's clear that the coaches are working on each department and slowly progressing. We just need to attack and get goals locked on. Okay, well, there we have it. Thank you so much to everybody who's tuned in tonight. We hope we've ended your Monday on the right note, and we'll catch up in a week's time. Remember to subscribe and set up your notifications to know when we send you and bring you all the latest as far as all the coaching interviews are concerned and impressions from all the various teams involved in this DSTV Premiership season. I'd like to take this opportunity to say thank you to Calvin Sosibo. I'm sure he's using these hours as part of his assignment that he's going to submit at the end of the season to say that, hey, Mfundile, I know what I'm talking about when it comes to this coaching stuff. Ain't that right? You're busy laughing. That's correct, right? He's laughing in silence because he doesn't want the yellow Zoom thing to come and switch on his camera. Calvin, you've been great. Thank you so much for your time tonight, sir.
Thank you very much. to our viewers, keep on subscribing and then push this channel. We're going to give you the great content and making sure that whatever that we are presenting is fact checked and we know what we are talking about.
That's it. And I get well soon to Obina, who can join us this evening. We hope to have him with us in a week's time back on the show. From myself, Kamumbata, and the team that made this possible, big ups to Fidel behind the scenes. We'll catch you in a week's time and or on our social media. Have a good evening.